Hey man, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing? Good to see you.
Good man, I'm good. I'm psyched to have you on, man. I think it's going to be a fun episode.
Yeah, man, me too. The first time I ever saw this come out, I was like, man, it's my mission to be on that. So I'm
I
stoked.
remember you saying, I think it was like the first or second episode, I think you mentioned coming on. And I was
Yeah,
like, I'd seen a couple of your videos. I'm like, that'll be good, man. That's going to be pretty fun.
cheers, man.
So yeah, like I know a lot of guys know you in the community. I was actually quite shocked, with no disrespect, but usually I get fan questions and I get a couple coming in, but I put yours out and I had like loads of comments like, oh my God, like what's going on here? Like this guy, everybody wants to ask this guy questions. So a lot of people obviously
That's
know who you
crazy.
are, but for those who don't know, just give us a quick rundown of who you are.
Well, my name is Mikey Paul Reddick. I have a YouTube channel called Mikey Paul Slingshots and Catapults. I live in the southern United States, southern Arizona, and I love outdoor sports, and shooting slingshots has just become my most favorite hobby. That it's become kind of an obsession, and it's just exploded into so much so quick. It's been life changing, really. I mean,
So when you say is come kind of quick, how long have you been shooting?
I started shooting at the end of last summer,
Oh
so
wow.
around, I think the end of August is when I ordered my first slingshot. So not very long, man. So I mean, I've
You got the
gone
bug
from
quick.
yeah, I mean, I've gone from not being a shooter to buying my first slingshot, starting my channel, and then starting this slingshot business has all just been boom, 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 which I couldn't be more thankful, really. So,
What was you what kind of got you into shooting? I mean, did you kind of have a background of? I mean, you said you enjoy sort of outdoor sports and things like that, but do you kind of have any background in archery or shooting in general, or was it what was it that kind of attracted you to slingshots?
I mean, I've always, I think I have what a lot of, Americans can relate to. We shot rockets as a kid, couldn't hit nothing. I think I had to put mine down because I broke a window when I was aiming way away from it. So my dad, took that away. And then, I love to fish, and I'm really into fishing. And where I live, I'm in the desert. There's not a lot of water. So I used to watch a lot of YouTube. And I always wanted to start a channel, but because fishing is so popular and it's so competitive, I thought it would tarnish my fun of fishing to make a channel that probably wouldn't go very far. So
Hmm.
I just continued to fish and watch YouTube. And one of the channels I watched did a collaboration with, I'm sure you've heard of Fowler,
Hmm.
and seen what he could do with the slingshot, and then watched what others could do. And the fact that you could be so accurate and light matches and just put that ball exactly where you want just blew my mind. And I think hobbies that take a lot of practice to get good at, and a lot of pursuit interest, like fishing. Where I'm from, if you go to the lake and see somebody doing real well fishing, everybody's attracted to that person. Same thing with slingshots. If you were at a park shooting here and people saw what you could do, it would attract people. And I just think that's amazing. you
Hmm.
know how you can just point down and make something way down range move
And I've
just by
spoken about it. I've spoken about this before about unless you kind of know, you don't know, how accurate these things can be, and not only the different things that you can use them for. Obviously, you've got your target shooting, you got your hunting and things like that. But I mean, nobody really knows, how accurate you can be with these things. Um, when you first started shooting, did you kind of take it to it like duck like to water, or was it a bit of a struggle and you kind of had to lose that frustration and just you eventually found your feet with a hobby?
well, when I since the day I've got my slingshot, last summer, I've made it a point to try to shoot every day, and I did that for the first good while. and I've been so busy lately. I haven't been as good about shooting every day, but I watched Nathan Masters' Slingshot Mastery, and I actually watched that while I was waiting for my slingshot to come in the mail. And I'm not saying that that will teach you how to be a sniper right off the bat, but it definitely helped me skip a lot of stuff that I would have had to go through a lot of trial and error to learn. So I definitely think it helped me make a big jump from complete beginner to, I don't think I'm the greatest shooter by any means, but I can definitely hang with, the set of guys I shoot with, besides a select few. I shoot with some really good shooters, but as far as the average guy goes here, I think I'm right there with them.
And I can kind of resonate with you there because I've been shooting for about 2.5 years. And it was the same kind of experience for me where I had ordered my first slingshot, but I had all these different channels out there with all these guys, like you mentioned, Nathan Masters. There's a load of guys in the UK, as well as the US and Canada. And it's just, like you said, it eliminates those bad habits and those problems that you'd have to figure out for yourself. You can kind of skip those. That's a good way of putting it because,
Yeah.
we all know about the speed bumps and, dropping the elbow and things like that. And I guess those guys kind of give you a head start. So when you do get it, you're automatically, if you're missing the shot or you're shooting paper and you're too low, you're too high, you're too wide, you kind of know what the adjustments are without having to take sort of 50 to 100 shots and then maybe go on to Facebook or something or wherever you are and ask the question and go back to the drawing board and kind of go again. You kind of already got these things locked up here. So,
Yeah.
it definitely helps.
They're great guidelines, and I think the one of my most favorite things about slingshots is how unique they can be to the shooter. There's TTF, OTT, there's long draw, short draw, whatever draw. There's just so many variables, and everybody can shoot great. There's no laws, and so it's great to take what really good shooters, their advice. It's great to take all of that, I think, and then put your own experience onto it and go from there, because I really think that every person is slightly different. I think our height, the length of our arms, I mean, all that factors in to your setup. And I think that's what I like so much is that it's not a straight Bible law across the board for everybody. It's what, this guy speed bumps it, but he still hits every time where I can't speed bump at all.
Yeah, it's that freedom of choice, right? Like, you can use what band you want to use, what frame you want to use. It's not just the technique, but the equipment and everything else that comes with it.
Yeah.
And that's particularly what drew me in, was honing in my skills and then finding out what works for me. And I'm still doing that to this day. So that's definitely, that goes without saying. Now, when we talk about your channel, you said you kind of wanted to do like a fishing channel and all that sort of stuff, but was it a goal? Like I never thought about doing this kind of podcast thing or anything like that. I just kind of got into the hobby and fell in love with some of these guys, some of the guys that we'll talk about later on, but some of the guests that I've had on the podcast recently too. And it's just kind of wanted me to get out there and speak to, guys like yourself. And as I just mentioned, some of the other guys. So what was it about you that kind of made you want to make a channel in the first place?
Well, like I said, I used to watch a lot of YouTube, and there's a couple channels that I really liked because I could relate so much to what they were doing, and I just felt like I could do that. I can do it, but I was really intimidated, and YouTube is hard, and it's a lot harder once you start a channel, you kind of realize what it means by YouTube is hard. And so I just put aside I don't care how many subs I'm going to get. I love slingshots, and I want to be a part of the community I'm watching, and I'm going to just try. And it was the best move I ever made. I can give there's a few guys I can give some big time credit to. Chuck and Steel, Can Vandal, ATO. I mean, those guys were all really supportive in my very early stages, and those were the guys I really looked up to. ATO is a killer shot, and it's awesome to watch for information. Chuck and Steel just shoots some amazing, crazy shots. And then Can Vandal's hilarious. And I thought, well, I'm not that great of a shooter, but I know I can make an entertaining video for sure.
Mm.
And, you know, I don't have a million subs, but even if my subs stop growing right now, I'm super happy at where everything is and where I am right now. I mean, I've made so many friends out of this community, so many solid friends, like
Mm-hmm.
closer with these guys than I am with a lot of people I know in my day-to-day life. So, I mean, it's truly changed my life. My dad had passed about 2 weeks after I started my channel. And one of the last things he told me was to chase your dreams. And so, you know, I really looked up to my dad. He was my everything. So that's just what I'm doing. I'm kind of trying to forget the fears of intimidation and risks and just putting the pedal to the metal with what I want to do. And so far it's been working out unbelievably. You know, I couldn't be more happy with everything right now.
That's
And
an
I,
incredible story, man. That's, you know, when you talk about intimidation, what is it? Is it about kind of yourself and putting yourself out there? Is it about the kind of competition of other guys, or is it just the general kind of, it's kind of like ripping the band-aid off, right? You just kind of,
yeah,
you know what you want to do, you know that you're capable of doing it, but it's just that thing that's kind of stopping you from, you know, getting out there.
yeah, you know, originally it was the intimidation of what the ultimate feedback was going to be. You know, were people going to like this or were they not going to like it? And that had me really nervous to the point where I was almost over editing my videos because I was so nervous about every little, you know, wrong face I made or whatever it might be, every little, you know, verbal fumble I did. But, you know, the feedback I got was just, you know, I haven't gotten a bad comment yet. So that helped me get over that big time. And now my confidence to be online, to have an online presence is a lot bigger than it was when I first started. And I think that has a lot, I think my viewers can tell that. And that's a big reason why they enjoy watching. You know, I'm just here to have a good time, really, with the
Well,
Sling.
I mean, I've got similar experiences, and I think, you know, some of the guys you mentioned. I think ATO was my first ever guest, and he was phenomenal. Again, so supportive is unreal. You know, having Can Vandal on, and you know all these guys that kind of come on, and I think, you know, I've got the same experience. I've not had any negative feedback, and you know it is quite scary because you're putting yourself out there for anything. You
Yeah.
know, people can say great things and people can say some pretty shitty things, but you just put yourself out there and hope for the best. But I think it's just being this community in particular, and I've said this from day one. There's very little toxicity in, you know, in this community, and that's what's so great about being a part of it. And that's why I'm at a similar stance where I don't sub count. I very rarely say please subscribe and all that nonsense, because I'm just happy to put stuff out there and be part of this community and speak to all you guys. So, you know,
Yeah.
it and I've learned a lot as well. You know, the more you speak to people, you know, the more you'll learn, just about the general mentality side of things, as well as the skill, technique, and equipment, and all the other great stuff that goes with shooting. But is the
Yeah.
mentality of being part of something, meeting new people who are like minded, and it really does go a long way.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, I agree with you 100%. You know, I've been a part of a couple communities, like I said, the fishing community and the slingshot community. And I can tell you the slingshot community is just the best group of guys. I mean, I can't say that enough. I agree with you there all the way. And that's, you know, a big reason of why I'm so obsessed with the sport is, you know, just how it's just given me so many new opportunities and so much light on my life that I'm all for it. And I'm all for doing anything I can do to put back into it, you know. So
That's awesome. So obviously, when we're talking about your channel, I can't avoid asking the one question. Slingshot Tony, how did that come about? Because that gets me in stitches, man. Like
let
seriously,
me
like I
grab him.
watched that and oh, here we go.
I'll grab him right here. I'm not going to check this out. All right. So, you know, I'm not the best shooter. Okay. Here's the camera. I'm not the best shooter. So I'm thinking in my head, how in the heck can I make my channel watchable? You know, and I was just sitting there thinking, and I watched that movie Scarface, and me and my buddies at work, we were kind of talking in that Scarface language, and I don't know, a light bulb just went off in my head, and I was nervous about that too. You know, the first time I ever put Slingshot Tony out there, I was like, man, what are these people going to think? And it was just overwhelming, you know, nothing but
But
overwhelmingly.
there's nothing else out there like that, right? I mean, there's, you know,
Yeah, it's hard for me to even sit here and take it seriously because I got a 80 or a 60 millimeter wasp spinner with a googly eye on it, and I got this I got this wig, and you know it doesn't look like anything it looked like in the ad when I bought it. And you
right.
know how many people have told me I look like the Tiger King?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see it.
Yeah, I haven't watched that movie, but I've seen the guy, and it is not pretty. But I'm gonna keep it that way. Yeah, that's pretty. You know, I never expected that to kind of be as popular as it was, but those Slingshot Tony videos do better than my normal videos do.
Like
So,
it's different, man. You know, like you said, there are guys out there who are quite funny. Like you mentioned, Can Vandal. But it's kind of, you know, it's spinning it off in a different way, and you know, it gets everybody laughing. And like you said, you
yeah,
want to do things for the community and bring these kind of good vibes, and you know, make people smile through your videos. And I think you're definitely doing that with Slingshot Tony, man.
thanks, man. You know, I wanted to. Everybody asked me, "Are you going to bring him to the tournament?" And I told everybody, "Yeah." But man, I was just so tired and exhausted. There would have just never been a way I could have really brought him with, you know, and made him look any funny at all. Because man, that was the most tiring I'd ever been in my life.
I
We
mean,
put in some serious hours there.
I mean, we'll talk about that in a second, but imagine if you just turned up to the tournament as Slingshot Tony and nothing else. You just didn't break character the whole time. Just
I thought about it, you know, and there's some people there that didn't know who I was, and I'm just thinking, what are these people going to think when I walk up to the Spanish knockdown just like this? I was close to doing it though, but maybe next year.
so let's have a quick chat about that. So you've just got back from somewhere very particular that you know, a lot of people would love to kind of go and visit. Tell us about that trip.
Man, I'll tell you, it was the time of my life, and I was really fortunate I got to go. I wasn't planning on going. I figured work was going to stop me, and then two of my really good buddies in the community got together, and they were going to go, and I just happened to look at dates, look at tickets, and I was able to go too, and so we went, and it was incredible. Just about everybody, almost everybody I talked to from the Facebook group and from the, you know, YouTube community was there, or at least quite a bit of them. Not everybody, but you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
More than I expected. I had never been there before, and you know, I was welcomed like I had been there time and time again. So it was just the greatest feeling for me. Everybody had a permanent smile tattooed on their face. And right when I first got there, I hopped out of the car and I didn't know how busy it was going to be. So I wanted to get pictures, you know, with the guys I looked up to. So I went to Fowler, Nathan Masters, Moan, all them guys, and I got such great pictures. And, you know, they're all such nice guys, just the greatest community. I mean, it was incredible to shoot with them and hang out with them. And the fact that it was as long as it was, I mean, that was great. It was a 3 to 4 day event, depending on what day you got there. So I think 4 days in total, which, you know, that's pretty awesome for the people that are flying across the country like me. You know, it really makes it worth it. They do such a good job of taking care of you, cleaning up, feeding you, and everything like that for the price. I mean, you couldn't beat it. And so I just want to, that's the one thing I really want to urge is for anybody who ever wants to go to that tournament, but think it might not be worth it to pull the strings and make it. I'm telling you, it's worth it. You
And
couldn't, you know,
prior to that, had you been to anything like that before?
I had been to one tournament before that back in February. It was the Southwest Slingshot tournament, the first one. And that was really fun. So I got a taste of kind of how tournaments worked there. But that was small. There was only 9 shooters there because it was its first year. And
Hmm.
things were still learning how to be set up. But I met a good couple guys there that were at the ECST as well. And but the Southwest Slingshot tournament was great because, like I said, it got me prepared for what was going to be at the East Coast Slingshot tournament. Because before I got to the Southwest, I was shocked when I got there when I realized how much shooting was from farther than 10 meters.
Hmm.
You know, we're always shooting at 10 meters. You know, in my house, I have a range that's set for 10 meters. So it was interesting to me to see, you know, how much of the event was held by long distance shooting. So that's the main thing. You know, if you're going to go to a tournament here in America, practice for long distance.
And I know like a lot of people that kind of go to these tournaments, especially for the first time, they never have anything bad to say. And I think a big part of that is just being around like-minded people, as we mentioned earlier on, you know, being online in the community and,
Yeah.
you know, just generally chatting to people who enjoy the same hobby as you always kind of makes you feel good because it is a niche hobby and it's not like, you know, your football or, you know, for you guys over there, the baseball and stuff where a lot of people enjoy certain things. It's very niche. So the chances of just stumbling upon someone who enjoys slingshot shooting is very, very unlikely. So I think it's
Yes.
just being there, but especially being in person. And you know, I watched your video where you kind of turn up and they've kind of got all these vendors with all these things, and you know, for the most part, you could probably go into a shop and they may have like one slingshot, which you know is like your old kind of Daisy wrist rocker or something. If you go to like a hardware store or a fishing shop or something,
Yep.
you kind of, so there's not really anywhere where you can go where everything is focused around slingshots. So I mean, just give us a little kind of taste on what that's like is just being around slingshots and everybody else that's there with you.
You know, it's great, especially for guys that are brand new to the sport. I mean, that is the best place for to ask people questions because I mean, there's a lot of people who have been shooting for years, and that's when they're in the best mood to tell you, you know, everything they know. And it's the best time to pick people's brains. And you know, people like Nathan Masters, you could go up to that guy and talk to him slingshots for hours. Anything you want to know, he was happy to answer. And I just think that's pretty amazing. Also, yeah, the vendors table was huge. Um, there was some really cool handmade stuff from some guys that do some really nice work. You know, like obviously RVA Catapults was there. That's, you know, Moan Waller does some incredible art pieces. And there was some other guys that what they're putting on that table is just amazing. You know, one of a kinds, and the price because you're at the event, the prices are way reduced. And there was a lot of young kids there. We were just giving them slingshots, you know, trying to encourage shooting as much as we possibly could. And you know that it's really cool to see what these people can make at home in their shops. I mean, these things are immaculate pieces of beauty, and it blows me away at just how creative these guys are. You know, it's incredible.
And you know, you touched on a couple of the guys that you met there. What was that like for you? Because you're probably in this similar position where you kind of looked up to all these guys when you first started shooting. What was it like being present with them? Because you know, I spoke to Nathan Masters on my last episode, and it was kind of like being starstruck, where it was like this aura that he gave that he knows absolutely everything, and it kind of made me feel a little bit stupid because I was like, man, this guy knows a lot, you know, and
Yeah.
he's been around for so long. And you mentioned guys like, you know, Mon Waller there and things like that. How was it being around these sort of guys? And, you know, Fowler as well, who, you know, you don't really see a lot of him in the community itself, but obviously with his videos and stuff, I know a lot of people, even here in the UK, that have kind of got into shooting because of guys like him. So what was it like being around these people?
So, you know, I loved it. I'm a new shooter, and you know, I was a little bit worried maybe these guys would be like, "Oh, what's this guy doing?" You know, he's just crowding it up for the good guys. But man, everybody is very, very supportive. These guys, they're totally approachable. Um, some guys were very busy and kind of working hard there, so I try not to I try not to crowd anybody and bug them too much. The people that were real busy, you know, but other, you know, there's some guys I can tell you. Moan Waller is probably one of the nicest, most approachable men you can ever meet in your life. I've done some, you know, I've bought some slingshots from him in the past, and we've talked a little bit. But when you meet him, he makes you feel like you've been friends with him for years. And you know, Nathan Masters, I was a little starstruck too. I got my picture, and you know, we were down shooting at the range, and here he comes down to us and chats with us for, you know, the little group I was with for a couple hours, and we were just we were, you know, to us, that's a big deal to know that these guys that we look up to so much are guys that are, you know, still cool enough to be approached, to be tuck slingshots. You know,
Mhm.
that I was really impressed with how accepting and how welcoming everybody was. It was awesome.
Sounds good, man, and it's definitely something I want to do in the future. I've been invited to a couple. It's a bit of a distance, but by the sounds of things, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so let's have a quick chat about slingshots themselves, because if you're like me, it's a great feeling when you get yourself a new slingshot. We're probably all a little bit guilty of maybe getting too many or just wanting another one as soon as you've just got one, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, have you got one that you has kind of stuck with you for any kind of reason in particular?
You know, I'm really, really terrible about not sticking to the same frame. When I first started shooting, I got the Simple Shot Torque was my first slingshot ever because it looked cool. And when I got it, I just was having a really hard time with it. So I figured, well, let me try the Axiom Ocularis. And that way I can try TTF or OTT and figure out what I want. And then I started shooting TTF with that. And that's when I actually started learning how to shoot and being able to hit my target. But then I got into the whole custom frame thing. And they're just so beautiful. And you get one. And then next thing you know, somebody's trading one. And you're like, wow, I wonder how that would feel. So I had this feeling of, you know, maybe there's just that one slingshot out there that's going to suction to my hand like Harry Potter's wand or something. And it'll just be magic. But really, it's about learning what you're good with. And I've got about every size and make of slingshot that they have. And I realize if I'm shooting certain frames, I'll shoot right more. So I just, you know, that's why, okay, now I look for a pinch grip, because with brace grip, I shoot to the right. I can't figure out why I'm, you know, what's going on here. I pick up TTF and I'm dead down the middle with pinch grip. So I kind of use what I learn about myself is when I pick out a new frame. Definitely, if I'm shooting long draw with TTF and it's brace grip, I shoot to the right. My elevation is perfect, but I'm just to the right about an inch every single shot. And I don't like it when I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. You know, I don't mind missing if I know why I missed,
Mhm.
but I hate missing and not being able to figure out why. And I'm doing something with the TTF brace grip. I don't know if I'm flicking it forward or what I'm doing. With long draw, that's just not working out. So if I'm shooting TTF, and I'm more of a long draw shooter now. I started out with short draw and shot that for a while, but I like long draw because I like having the adjustability of it. You know, you can shoot close, you can shoot far, and I like shooting a 3/8 ball. And for me, if you have to shoot 3/8 with short draw, you got to have some pretty beefy bands. And I'm kind of a light band guy, so I like being able to use .4s and get that 3/8 ball down the range just as fast. But yeah, like I was saying, so I gotta have like a pinch grip with my TTF, and that'll get me right down the center. But with OTT, I can brace grip all day, and pinch grip isn't as good for me. So I definitely think it's good to try out the range of styles, so you can learn what you like. But there definitely is not the magic slingshot out there that's just going to fit your hand perfect, and all of a sudden you're just going to be twice as accurate as you were before. You know, you might find one that fits real good and is comfortable, and you get on with it better than your other ones. But you know, not by no dramatic. You know, so.
I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it, where you're always looking for the next best thing. You're always looking for something that can kind of help you and adjust with you. I mean, I've never shot long draw. It doesn't appeal to me, but then that's probably me just being really stubborn with having something that works, and just maybe
Yeah,
being too afraid, or just having something that works. And I mean, for me, I'm not sure about you, and I know a lot of the guys over your ways are not massively into hunting with a slingshot, but it was one of the main reasons I personally got into shooting, was to be able to kind of go out and hunt with a slingshot. Um, and I feel like now that I've kind of found my way and I am accurate, I don't want to change it. So it's
Yeah.
quite interesting that you've kind of been shooting for a short time too, and have kind of managed to go long draw, because everyone that I know of have said long draw is actually a lot more difficult than it is short draw. Do you agree with that, or have you had a
You
different
know,
experience?
I was intimidated to try long draw, and I think that's a lot of people's story. But to be honest with you, as much as slingshots are a sport you have to practice at to be accurate, regardless, it wasn't any. I feel I'm about the same accurate as I was when I was with short draw, and I think I've been shooting long draw for probably 2.5 months now. So not very long, but it wasn't near as difficult as I had expected it to be. And I definitely want to encourage everybody that has been wanting to try it because it's fun. And a lot of people think like, well, you touch the bands on your face to kind of gauge your anchor. And what's cool is if you're hunting or whatever and you have a longer shot, you can pull them bands back a lot further and just smack that
You can
punch
get
right
them.
in there, So it's a real adjustable setup. And yeah, if you were to hit your thumb with a 3/8 ball long draw, you're going to be throwing some heat and you're going to hurt yourself.
Mm.
But I haven't gotten any more fork hits than I would have got when I was learning how to shoot short draw. And I think it's really just, takes the same effort to learn short draw as long draw. And that's going to be my vote. I'm sure there's variables that people will say, no matter what, long draw is harder, no matter what, short draw is easier. I really think it's up to the person. And I definitely, I think there's this big cloud over people of intimidation for long draw, and that I'm doing everything I can to erase that. I'm encouraging everybody start out with tubes, light bands, clays, plastic ammos, whatever's holding you back from wanting to try. Just try it. And I've had a lot of people swear to me that no matter what you do, long draw is less accurate, and I just don't agree with that because you're the one shooting the slingshot. You can be just as good with yourself shooting it like this as you can like this. You just have to practice.
And
And
what what
so,
what have you found in terms of frames? Have you found certain frames are better for long draw? In comparison to kind of just being an overall. So, for example, for myself, if I'm shooting short draw, I can shoot better with a wider frame than a shorter frame. And, I think you've mentioned in one of your videos, I kind of like a heavy slingshot. For some
yeah.
reason, I find that helps me rather than a lighter slingshot. What have you found kind of going long draw with frames in particular? Is there anything that kind of stands out, or do you actually think that it doesn't make a difference whatsoever?
Well, I think it relates a lot to short draw. We're still doing the same things, right? I mean, we're still shooting a ball through a frame with bands. We're just a little bit longer and pulling them in a different way. So if I were to recommend what's a better frame for long draw for somebody who's going to be trying it, would be the wider frames. Just because if you mess up on your release, you have that much more clearance of a fork hit, and I think that would really help. For me personally, narrower frames have always been more difficult to shoot. Short draw, they're very difficult. Long
Hmm.
draw, they're still difficult for me, but not like they were shooting short draw. I just can't bring that anchor high enough. It seems for a narrow fork width. So, I'm somebody who sticks between 85 to 95. That's my money spot. But really, I think if I were to just really buckle down and practice, I can get the narrow frames down. I don't like fork hits, and I don't like with long draw. You have to bring them bands real close to your eye. For me, when I'm shooting a narrow frame, so with a wider frame, I can kind of bring it down to my cheek, and if something goes wrong, I'm not gonna take my eyelids out, even though I've never had anything close to that happen. But and I will say, I'm not sure if everybody will agree with this, but in my time shooting long draw, I've gotten a lot of fork hits with OTT. For some reason, I've never gotten one with TTF, and I
That's
don't know.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because of the trajectory of things are different, or if that's because by the time I tried a TTF frame long draw, I had my release down. I'm not too sure, but I will stick to that because I was getting fork hit after fork hit with OTT, and so I said, screw this. I'm pick up my TTF frame, and I stuck with that for quite a while. That's what I shot the tournament with too, was a TTF frame, long draw. And I since I've been home, I've picked up my OTT frames and been practicing with them, and I'm having good days. So right when I think I'm one or the other, I'm both. I'm an OTT and I'm a TTF shooter, and I'm gonna stop trying to figure out which one I am.
When you talk about kind of practice and practicing on a daily basis, what's your sweet spot in terms of time? Because as I've kind of gone on shooting, I find it's almost like I prefer to take less time each day shooting. I'm not sure what that is. I find if I have a long session, um, I don't find it quite as beneficial as having maybe just a handful of shots each day. I'm not sure what that is, and whether it's the focus side of things or whether just the fact that you know I'm excited for the next day because I haven't burnt myself out the day before. I'm not sure, but what's your sweet spot in terms of practice? How long are you kind of shooting for?
That is something that has taken me a little bit of time to learn as a shooter. And when I first would shoot, I would just shoot my arm off, and I've realized that I'm a terrible person as far as developing bad habits. So long practice sessions, I fall into bad habits. And for me, I agree with you 100%. I think less amount of shots, but more shooting sessions is definitely the way to go. Because when I start to get fatigued, is when I start missing. Um, and that's huge to learn when you get fatigued. And so that's something I'm still trying to learn is what what band set can I handle for what length of time before I get burned out. And the bands I was shooting the tournament with, I really felt, looking back, were overpowered, not for the ammo, but for my own strength. The bands I was shooting was just wearing me out too fast. And so since I've came home, that's something I learned about myself there. I'm going to lighten up my setup so I can shoot for a little bit longer without getting worn out. Because getting worn out, you're done. You're going to start missing and you're not going to know why, and you're going to get frustrated, and you don't want to shoot frustrated. That's one of the worst things.
And I suppose a lot of beginners would kind of be watching this thinking they're doing wrong by going out there and practicing. But, it's a bit different when you've been shooting a while. I think when
Yeah.
you first start shooting, just go with it. Just, if you want to go out for an hour or 2 hours even and hit cans, do it, because, that's a big part of enjoying the hobby is just you want to be out there as much as possible, and you want to kind of get yourself go in and develop your skills and be a better shooter. So it's not a case of, you know, stopping yourself do it, but it comes a point when you've been shooting a while and you've kind of nailed out those bad habits where you can do it, you're capable, those bad habits no longer exist. But if you start kind of having these long sessions, that's when these bad habits creep back in. So it is a little bit different if you are just kind of new to shooting. Continue to kind of practice as much as you can, but
Right.
just realize there is a point where technique will fail due to fatigue, and
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
mentally and physically.
to the new guys who are still working on getting their muscle memory and their form. Yeah, I mean, you're going to want to shoot every day, and yeah, shoot as long as you can shoot, but for me, once I realized, okay, hey, these super long sessions and just one of them a day is not as beneficial to me, is when I had my form down and all of a sudden I was not shooting as good as I knew I could shoot. And that's when I start realizing, okay, I used to be able to hit the spinner this many times in a row. Why haven't I been able to do that in the last week? And that's when I start going over, what do I need to change? What do I need to fix? But yeah, to the new guys, you guys, to get your form down, I mean, go out there and just shoot, fall in love with the thing. And then really, for me, I think 50 shots. And if you can get 50 shots in a day, that's amazing. Even 20 shots is better than nothing. Because I do think the less you practice, the more it takes to get on target the next time you pick it up.
And
So
another thing that I've done, and this is kind of a recent thing, is I kind of break them up. So, for example, I may have sort of 10 shots in the morning, and then depending on how I shoot in the morning, I'll kind of think of that throughout the day. and then I'll go shoot again in the evening. And it kind of gets me hungry. So, I've had these 10 shots. If I do bad, I've kind of built myself up for the evening where I want to do even better. If I've had a good morning, I want to keep that pace and have, a good few shots in the evening. So breaking up your session is also another great way of kind of, giving yourself a bit of a rest in between and gone wrong. But yeah, you're definitely right there. I think, like you said, the muscle memory at the beginning is very important. Enjoying it is very important. But it's also a time where you kind of got to give yourself a bit of a break.
Yeah. And a big thing is I think a lot of people that, try to get their friends into shooting and their friends pick it up and they set a little target down there. I mean, they're not going to like it if they're not hitting their target, So if you want to get your friends into shooting or your kids into shooting, set them up with something where they're not going to hurt themselves right off the bat and give them a target that they can actually hit, whether it's just a pizza box or whatever. And I think that's a big deal because there's a lot of people I see just pick it up and put it down because they shot themselves or, well, they were shooting lead for the first time. That's, well, no duh.
Trying to shoot a 20 mil target for your first time.
Yeah. So, it has a lot to do with the experience, right? Like same with fishing. If somebody takes you fishing and you never catch fish, you're not going to want to go fishing with them. And so, I think it's good. What you're doing is amazing. Trying to just bring the light of slingshots and the joy of slingshots to people. People like, all the channels we mentioned, Vandal, ATO, Chuck and Steel, all them guys, so many more that I'm not mentioning, but I don't mean nothing by it. But, that's what we got to do. We really got to show how fun these are and keep it going. So it's such a positive, clean hobby. It's what our youth, I think, would benefit off so much more if there were more young kids shooting slingshots and just, all ages in general. It's 100%. Such a, at that tournament, that's one thing I liked. I'm not a big partier, so it was so nice to be around people who, weren't getting all messed up and, it was like-minded people, the slingshot community is a very clean, positive, supportive community. And I couldn't say, I'm lost for words on how great they are.
And I mean, it's never a better time to kind of join in this community either. Not only with all, the great guys that are out there and all the channels and all that sort of stuff, but also the products that are available now. And, how readily available these things are, which is kind of swiftly moving me on to the next subject, which is the shirt that you've got on there, which kind of brings in Omega Slings.
Yes, sir.
So what is that about? You mentioned at the beginning that you kind of gone on to kind of start shooting and you kind of made a channel and now you're kind of doing your own thing with a business. So give us a rundown on what that is exactly.
So Omega Slings is I don't make any slingshots. I'm not a builder. What I do mainly, and the Chuck and Steel is my partner. What we do is we bring stuff that aren't as easily accessed here by Americans, bring them here so Americans can have a trusted source to get them from. And I'm doing my best to make them all slightly cheaper. It's not super easy, but most everything I sell is cheaper than the original vendor. So, and the shipping, that's probably the main thing. Everybody here that's ordering from China or wherever, it's overseas and it takes forever to get here. And then, if there's a problem, they don't really have somebody they can really talk to about it. And it discourages a lot of people from getting into what they want. And so I'm trying my best to just make things easier for everybody. It started kind of as an idea and a conversation, and the amount of kind of feedback and support I got was more than I expected. And it's just, for me, financially, it's the perfect time. So it's, my dad told me to follow my dreams and this is what I want to do. So I'm just going to put the pedal to the metal. And, I think I think there was a niche here in the States that we're filling perfectly. There was a little void in, communication and the shipping times. So I really think things are going to be looking good for Omega Slings.
And just like the community, when we're talking about products, there's not, although any kind of business is going to be competitive, there's no real rivalries out there. There's no real kind of cutthroat kind of market where people are jumping on each other to get any better. But
Yeah,
you definitely hit the nail on the head there from, well, especially from the kind of states point of view, because, for myself, getting, simple shot products or whatever else, it is a bit of a hassle because you're having to pay these kind of extortionate shipping fees, which is it's no fault of these guys like Simple Shot because, that's
right.
how much it costs to ship these things. Um, and there are a couple of guys here in the UK which will sell Simple Shot products and so on, and Sniper Sling and things like that. And I guess that's what you're kind of trying to do over in the States. There is,
Yeah,
make these products available, these international kind of large scale things possible for guys to buy without having to pay these, crazy shipping prices, which, the people who make these things have no power over that. It's not their choice to kind of sell these products at these prices. It's just the unfortunate thing of living overseas and all that sort of stuff, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, shipping, that's the hardest part about this sport because there is no stores readily available for us to walk into and buy everything we need for slingshots, But yet, as shooters, I can only imagine. I know my appetite for slingshot accessories is huge. I'm always looking at new latex and stuff just for my own self. So, um, making it easier for people to have a place to go with a variety. I'm doing my best to work with as many vendors as I can to just bring the most variety I can to people and a trusted source. If something goes wrong, I mean, I'm not going to screw anybody over. I mean, you're going to be dealing with directly me, and I take good care of my customers. If I make a mistake, I make up for it tenfold. You know what I mean? And they can all vouch for that. But I don't make many mistakes.
And it's another way of making friends and getting in contact with these guys. I think I've
Yeah,
seen recently. Is it Wasp that you've kind of?
yeah.
Is it
So
Wasp products you're going to be selling soon, right?
yeah, that was exciting. I had messaged Simon, and he had messaged me back saying, "Let's do it. Send me what you want." So I think there's some kind of holiday over there right now, but he's working on it for me, and I'll hopefully have that here in a couple weeks. But that was big for me because a lot of people here love Wasp, and the spinners he makes are the best. We love those things, especially those are my favorite spinners.
He's
Besides,
such a he's such a good guy as well. Sorry to cut you off there, but he's
no,
such
that's
a good
fine.
guy, Simon. I've spoken to him a few times. He's actually going to come on the podcast soon.
I'll be looking
So,
forward to it.
you know, again, when I see Wasp over in the States, it just goes to show, the need is definitely there. A lot of people and a lot of videos I've seen, Can Vandal and Fowler and ATO, these guys, somewhere in the collection, they're going to have a Wasp.
Yeah.
So I
Oh
think it's
yeah.
great I think it's great what you're doing there. And, Wasp is just one example of many,
Yeah.
um, that, I can definitely see the reasoning behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
It definitely makes sense.
And things are going quicker than I had expected. I didn't expect things to. I didn't expect the demand to be what it is, and I didn't expect Omega Slings to be selling the amount of orders that we're selling per day. So because of all that positive feedback to me, that's just a sign to go for it even further and harder. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm currently working on the website. There's a lot of people saying, when's that website going to be ready? It's being worked on. It's a matter of the legal stuff kind of takes a while. You got to open a bank account and then talk to the lawyer. But I have to have all the legal stuff set up perfectly. So this can have the potential I expect it to have. I
It
don't
sounds like
want
you're
nothing
going about
holding it
everything the
back.
right way.
Yeah.
You're doing all the right things. You're not just kind of getting in to make a quick buck and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. You're definitely going about things the right way. It's great for the community.
And that's the
Um,
thing. My prices are a lot cheaper. I really don't try to make any real money off this. This is more a side business because it's what I love. I'm making a little, enough to put gas in the car, and that's okay because that's kind of what we need over here right now. So I'm going to do my best to keep the prices as low as I possibly can, and that'll always be one of the biggest priorities. So.
and have you kind of thought about, there's a little idea here for you that, so obviously you've kind of got these niche kind of slingshots that are not readily available anywhere else. So I spoke to Gaspar. I'm not sure if you've seen that episode, but his Spanish slingshots are
Yeah.
completely different things to what we used. It so things like that, and the Strod. I'm not sure if you've seen a Strod before.
Well,
Um,
I've seen what Gasper shoots, and those are definitely a lot different than what I'm used to.
so there's definitely things out there, because the thing is about shooters is we always want to kind of look at something different. When you see a custom build or something like that, it's like, ooh, I like that. And once
Yeah.
you want something, you want it. The next guest I got coming on, Dan Layton, just dropped his name there, but anyway, he's coming on. He makes Strods, which if you've not seen one before, they're very, very strange. I think in the past they were called gypsy slings, or something along those lines. But
Okay. Okay.
you need to kind of look at these things, because some of these designs that these guys are making, they're making them out of kind of like antlers and old kind of tool handles and all these sort of things. There's so many things out there which unless you live at one side of the world or another side of the world, you're not going to get. So I'm
Yeah.
definitely with you on just get that international market going, because
Oh yeah.
it is difficult. It is very difficult to kind of get these products if if you're living in the wrong area.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I'm going to do my best to bring as much variety, because I think when a shooter goes online and they want to, what they're looking at, I think they really enjoy options. Um,
Mm,
and there's a lot of websites that they might have options, but they're all kind of the same, if you know what I mean.
mm,
The variations don't change much. And I want to be able to order, or I want to be able to offer people anything from the cheapest slingshot that there is out there to, their most desired custom. So things are going well. I couldn't be more thankful of everything, and I appreciate you and what you do for the community big time.
thanks, man. And hopefully this all works out for you, because I read a little bit into what you were kind of doing, and I had an idea of what you were doing, but it makes so much sense. um and I've said this on a number of occasions, and it might not be everyone's kind of cup of tea, as we say over here, but one of the big parts of the hobby is waiting for that new slingshot, waiting for that thing that you've kind of been thinking about for like a week or two. I know in the past I've kind of been like, come on, I'm waiting for something to come from China, or I've
Yeah.
ordered from Simple Shot. I'm like, come on, is it coming? Is it coming? How does it feel to you having, Omega Slings going to be on the packaging? These people that are, pumped to get that item, you're bringing that joy to them. How's that make you feel?
Oh man, it puts butterflies in my stomach sometimes. It makes me so happy. I can't tell you the amount. Like, I would have never expected this much support. I know a lot of people have made orders to help me out, and then I know a lot of people have made orders because they really like my products that I offer. They like how fast the shipping is, and they like the prices. So when I see somebody that I've never talked to on the group or never seen before buy something and then make a real super nice post, and that just melts me, it tickles me to death. I mean,
That's awesome, man.
it makes it worth it, all alone. Like I said, it's not a get rich scheme over here. It's definitely it's a work in progress, but it makes it so much more worth it, and definitely lets me know to keep moving forward. So I'm stoked.
That's awesome, man. Real good stuff. So we have a couple of fan questions. Um, Before I go ahead with this, there were a couple of people that asked kind of like 4 or 5 questions, and probably just like yourself, I haven't got all day to kind of go through all of them, but I have. Everyone that's asked a question has got a question. Um, so, I mean, I think you've seen a couple of them, because I think you've kind of reacted to a couple of the questions that I put on Facebook. So, I mean, you've had a bit of time to kind of rehearse for some of these questions, I guess. So,
Oh man.
um, so the first one is coming from Stu. So he's a guy that follows myself on Instagram. Really nice guy. And he was having a quick chat with me, and I said, "Hey, I got Mikey coming on. Do you want to ask him a question?" And he really wanted to ask you a question. So his question is: there's not a lot of content on long draw. What advice would you give to someone that wants to try it? I know we've covered that a little bit, but he wants to know about bands and tapers and things like that. What is your advice to someone that kind of wanted to try out long draw?
Okay, so yeah, my advice is definitely go light. My I first started when I first tried long draw to get comfortable with the form, I actually used tubes. And if you're really worried about a fork hit, use clay or use the rubber or plastic bullets. But I really like the tubes because they're the frame I had them on, they were easily adjustable, and it helped me know exactly where my form was. And then from there, I just the way I cut my bands is I get the longest template they make, which is they sell it 270, but it goes to 290, and I just cut them there, and I can open almost all the way up with the bands I use. And I would go light, go with whatever ammo you're used to shooting, but go with a lighter setup. And if you're shooting 9.5, go with like an 1810 of 0.5 or 0.4 even. Depending on your own needs, but definitely keep it light is my suggestion.
Awesome. So I've got one from Jay Garrett. I think he asked about 4 or 5 questions. So I've kind of
Good, my man Jay.
I've got one in that I kind of want to know the answer to as well. So that is, what is your longest shot that you've hit?
My longest shot that I hit was actually at the tournament. We were messing around shooting this gong or this saw blade. It was pretty big around, but it was on top of a telephone pole, and we used one of them range finders and ranged it out from 150 yards. And me and my buddies, we were just firing at it, and luckily, out of everybody, I hit, and I couldn't believe it. Blew me away. I was pretty bummed at how I placed at the tournament. So when I made that shot, it gave me a little redemption for myself.
A shot you'll never forget, right?
I'll never forget. And luckily, I had a few people that saw it, including Jay. So, yeah, that was pretty sweet to have witnesses, because nobody would have believed me on that one.
That's awesome, man. So the next one's from Andy Lowe. So he wants to know what your highlight of the week was, your goals for the next tournament, and what you're going to practice before the next tournament.
So my highlight was meeting everybody, and for sure, that was incredible. I had never been somewhere where the people I had never met were running up to me and hugging me like family. And I'm a kind of person that cares a lot about that kind of stuff, So that just blew me away. And the people that I got to shoot with, Chuck and Steele, me and him are good friends. Andy, Jay, and we didn't really know Andy or Jay too much when we got there, and they just came to shoot with me and Chucking, and we went and turned out to be the best group of guys I could have joined with. I mean, we just laughed the whole time. So next year, what I definitely am going to change is I'm not going to shoot near as many of my scores tired. And I'm going to practice more, because we got there and I was worried about people waiting on me to shoot. And so I figured if I went and got all my scoring done, then I wouldn't have to worry about it, and I could just enjoy the rest of the weekend. But by the time I did some of my challenges, I was just the most tired I had ever been in my life. And that cost me some shots big time. So I'm definitely going to practice probably the whole day when I get there next time, and then shoot my scores the second or third day. And I'm definitely going to remember, don't shoot fatigued. That's one of my biggest problems.
Which is hard to do, I suppose, when you're traveling and stuff as well. And, it's a big day. You're meeting all these people, and, you're excited, and, the ups and lows of shooting and missing and hitting, and the pressure that you don't really feel, when you're practicing on your own, you haven't really got that pressure. But when you're kind of in a tournament setting, it's got to be a little bit different.
Here we do a speed shoot here, and you got to knock down 10 cans in under a minute. And as you, the more cans you get, the points go progressively, and the last can is worth 10. So really, you have to get all 10 cans if you want to keep up with everybody else. And that's hard. I've shot a lot, but I've never really speed shot. And so that's going to be something I'm going to practice as well.
Awesome. So I want to shout out quickly Ethan Martin. He did ask a question or two, but it was things we've already covered, like what got you into shooting.
Yeah.
which
Beef is a good man.
we kind of covered. But I do just want to shout him out. I don't want him to think that I've kind of not, not asked this question.
Yeah.
So Kerry Sandlin, and this is a very important question, and we all need the answer to this. Does Slingshot Tony have a sister?
Oh my gosh. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go with I don't know.
Ask Tony, I guess.
Oh shoot. Yeah, I guess we'll have to get back to him on that one. A little Slingshot Tony family reunion. Oh man, those guys are funny.
Well, anyway, I want to tie this up just by saying thank you for coming on. It's been great speaking to you, man.
Oh man, I'm super stoked.
What you're doing with Omega Slings is amazing. I truly mean that. It's great for what you're doing over there, and I can definitely resonate with you a lot because of we're both fairly new to shooting. We both had very, very similar experiences. So it's great to meet someone like yourself. And I'm sure you're going to do your dad proud with what you're doing, because it's definitely something I can see is is very meaningful for you.
Thank you.
So,
that means
I
a
wish
lot.
you all, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm stoked about this, and I appreciate what you do, man. I love your episodes, so thank you.
Thanks, man. Is there anything you want to add just before we go? I'll tie in any links of anything that you want tied in. I'll put on the video. Obviously, once you got your website up and running, let me know, and I'll post that on my pages too, because I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to know about it. But is there anything you kind of just want to you leave the folks with today?
I just want to leave everybody with, just I appreciate you guys that have given me as much support as you've given me. You've all have really been the fuel to keep me going. And, people like you, Benji, just thank you guys. And I'm going to do my best to make the community as best as it possibly can, and put in everything that it's given to me. So, I just appreciate it. And you guys are awesome. And I truly thank you, from the bottom of my heart, big time.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks from me too, guys, for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, and enjoy the rest of your day, man.
All right, man. You too. Appreciate it, brother.
Catch you later, man. See ya. Hey guys, hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have done, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does go a long way. And I promise next time I'm not going to go too long without bringing out another episode. So stay tuned, because there's another one coming soon. Keep shooting. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon.